It's harder to adjust to everyday life and everyday life stressors. So when it comes to pleasure, instead of going on a vacation or taking 2 weeks off from work, the liquor store is right down the corner. So I think that economically, systematically, and historically, our relationship with alcohol looks differently than other demographics, other groups of folks. My name is Khadi Oluwatoyin. I'm a New York State attorney, and I'm also the founder and executive director of Sober Black Girls Club, a collective that provides resources and support to Black girls, women, femmes who are either practicing sobriety, in recovery, or considering it. So I guess my story started in Staten Island, New York, where I'm from, born and raised. So growing up, I was an A+ student, took academics very seriously. I was basically always busy in Quran classes, Sunday school, always just working and producing. So after high school, I went to college. And again, just coming from a Nigerian Muslim home, we didn't drink. I had no experience of alcohol with alcohol before college. It was when I was graduating, I was studying for the bar, and I was set to come back to New York to work as an attorney. I was miserable and I was depressed, and I had no idea why I was feeling so horrible inside. Now, a person with great coping mechanisms would have went to go see a doctor, right? Or figure out what was going on. So I just did what I knew would make me feel better, which was to drink. And I drank for about a year until I physically couldn't. Like, the physical harm of drinking a lot was manifesting in my body. So I decided to get help. And when I went to go see a therapist, the first thing she suggested was that I stop drinking. And I literally looked at her like, you are out of your mind. I have problems, not a drinking problem. And then a year later, when my life went totally down south, I went back to that therapist and said, okay, I think I need to stop drinking. And that's when my journey into sobriety recovery began. And within the following year or so, through my recovery, self-recovery, not only recovery from alcohol, but self-recovery from why I was feeling so horrible, I learned and realized that a lot of my self-esteem was built off of accolades and awards, and my self-recovery has been about who am I when I'm not producing and I'm not creating. So at that time, I created Sober Black Girls Club, where I was documenting my experiences with sobriety, the things I was having trouble with. And it wasn't until 2020 when the pandemic happened and other Black girls and other Black women found my blog and were reaching out to me and telling me, like, I cannot stop drinking. And that was a collective theme that I saw in the lives of Black girls and women. Like, we have a hard time figuring out who we are when we are not caretaking or caring for other people or doing. And that's when in 2020 we became a collective.
My relationship with alcohol wasn't that different from those around me. I felt that we were all doing similar things. On Sundays, we would do bottomless mimosas, we would go to day parties, we would drink all day, we would all take shots together. I felt that my drinking was normal because those around me were doing similar things also. My name is Ryann Cooke, and I am a member of the Sober Black Girls Club. My journey with alcohol started when I was 14 or 15 years old. I was in high school at the time. I was a freshman. My peers and I, we were all drinking together. There would be times where we would drink before school, drink during school, drink after school, skip school to drink. And so being around my friends drinking, it was relieving to me. It was a way to escape. And my drinking just continued from high school well into adulthood. I felt alone and sad, especially as I went into my 20s and became legal age to drink. My drinking progressively got worse, and my therapist suggested that I go to AA meetings.
A lot of folks mistakenly, like what I did in the beginning, self-medicate ourselves with alcohol. So some of us may be experiencing anxiety, depression. A lot of folks who are diagnosed with bipolar disorder, we self-medicate with alcohol, and especially in the Black community where we're not familiar with these diagnoses, right? We don't have a history of going to the doctor and saying that something is wrong, we're feeling something, in fear of being labeled crazy, lazy, or any other stereotypes that have been associated with being Black. When we talk about disorders of the brain, it's kind of like a loop, right? So if I'm feeling depressed and I'm feeling anxious, and if I self-medicate with alcohol, at the end, there's also alcohol-induced anxiety and depression. There's this non-ending circle.
While drinking, I felt that my depression really took a turn for the worst. I constantly told myself that no one cared about me, no one loved me, and I would mask behind drinking. But actually, I was miserable. I felt sad, and I didn't understand why until I stopped drinking and found community and other sober individuals to speak to. I was able to actually talk to them about those feelings, and I didn't feel like I was some crazy Black girl that was just aggressive or just all the time upset. I didn't feel that I could be sad. I didn't feel that I could talk about the things that were actually bothering me until I met community.
My take on how society looks at alcohol abuse is that they don't take it seriously at all. The dangers and abuse from alcohol abuse has been known for decades. Okay, our ancestors, Frederick Douglass, spoke and talked about the dangers of alcohol and how it kept Black folks enslaved for decades, right? We know the history, yet we continue to drink. I think in our society, as long as you're producing, as long as you're creating, as long as you do not become a problem on society, no one cares. We know that because of our history in America of being forced to work, a lot of violence being committed against us, Black folks don't really have a strong connection in this country, right, with self-care and taking care of ourselves. A lot of times, alcohol is the answer or the antidote that we use for our everyday stressors because we don't really have an experience in this country of doing anything differently.
I understand that sometimes therapy may not be accessible to all of us. An organization such as Sober Black Girls Club can connect you with other Black women who are also going through the same issue. I feel that it's really important that we are around people who look like us so that we can have a connection with them and have a safe space to talk about these issues.
I think the best way we can protect ourselves from alcohol abuse is by being honest about what we're feeling and what we're going through. So if you are feeling sad, anxious, or unstable in any areas of your life, I think you need to be vulnerable and you need to be honest and speak about it with folks in your community or a professional and get the right help that you need.
If you are experiencing depression or anxiety, I want you to know that alcohol is a depressant and it will only make things worse. And once I stopped drinking, I felt that I didn't feel super depressed or I didn't have those suicidal ideations. It felt like a huge weight was just sort of lifted off of my shoulder.